Greetings and welcome to the HACU conference, and thank you so much for joining our session. I am so excited to be here with two of my colleagues from the University of Arizona to share with you a little bit about a signature leadership development program known as the HSI Fellows Program, aimed at cultivating capacity among our faculty and staff to lead HSI-related efforts across our campus. My name is Marla Franco, and I serve as the Assistant Vice Provost for Hispanic Serving Institution Initiatives at the University of Arizona, located in Tucson, Arizona. I am also the founder and facilitator of the HSI Fellows Program, which we launched in fall 2018. I would now like to turn it over to my colleagues for their introductions. Ashley?
Hello, thanks for having us. My name is Ashley Leonata-Scaffer. I am an assistant professor of practice in the Department of Nutritional Sciences at the University of Arizona. As an assistant professor of practice, my primary role is instruction. I have been at the university for 7 years, starting my career out as an academic advisor, and I was recently a part of the 2019-2020 cohort, so the second cohort of the HSI Fellows.
Hi, my name is Eileen Wong, and I am a clinical assistant professor in the Department of Speech, Language, and Hearing Sciences and an audiologist. I have been at the University of Arizona since 2013 as a faculty member and am also very proud alum. I currently hold a blended position as a clinical educator for future audiologists, as a clinician helping individuals and families with hearing loss, and as a researcher in hearing health disparities. I was really fortunate to participate in the first cohort of the HSI Fellows Program, and am very excited to share with you some of my experiences.
Thank you so much for joining us for this session. We wanted to give you a little overview of where we're headed during our time today. Here is a brief overview of what we plan to cover in our session today. We will discuss the impetus of the program, or the why behind its development, as well as the faculty and staff who participate and those who are intentionally brought in to facilitate aspects of the experience. How the program is designed and facilitated with great attention and care, and what results from this program, both intended outcomes and ones we never quite imagined would come to bear. Researchers such as Espinosa and Garcia and Ramirez suggest that a culture for serving Latinx students is facilitated by faculty, staff, and administrators who serves as intentional institutional agents who actively work to disrupt barriers to success for Latinx students. As such, immersive and supportive professional development experiences are ideal for developing these institutional agents and preparing them to be disruptors and agents for change at HSIs across the nation. Lastly, we'll look forward to engaging in discussion with you for a live Q&A towards the end. The University of Arizona was federally recognized as an HSI in 2018. Right around the same time, I was a participant in the University of Arizona's Academic Leadership Institute, which is a year-long cohort-based leadership development program that garners way more interest than it can accommodate. This program had done its job. I was invigorated, confident, highly networked, and more adeptly skilled for leading in new ways at the University of Arizona. I left I felt like I had more to offer the University of Arizona, though. So much more of myself to give to my institution, and I was compelled to do something about this. I thought to myself, what would happen if we poured into others and supported them in going through an intentional experiential learning journey that primed them for leading HSI-related efforts at this university? It's this question precisely that stimulated the development of the HSI Fellows Program. I now turn it over to my colleagues to share their own personal and professional reasons for seeking out the HSI Fellows Program.
So as I mentioned earlier, I started out as an academic advisor, and as an undergraduate at the University of Arizona, my college experience was very much shaped by, being a first-generation student, being a transfer student, having a Hispanic upbringing that was blended and influenced in so many different ways by the culture of being in Tucson, Arizona, at an almost border town. There were a lot of things that influenced my college experience. And as an educator, I've really been driven from square one to find ways to help folks to support my students, I should say, in knocking down those barriers that I first became acquainted with as a student, but that I grew to understand much more deeply as an academic advisor. And then, that's evolved as a faculty member. So what I've really been looking for are continuously finding new opportunities to expand my influence and my reach. And in that academic advising work and having so many one-on-one interactions, that really inspired me and has informed a lot of how I approach my work as an instructor. And then as an instructor, though, I was looking for ways to be more impactful in, fostering a culture and contributing to programs and opportunities that were very scalable, because I realized that I could only do so much in one-on-one or, within the classroom, which is still a lot, but I wanted to do more. So that's really what had led me to look for more opportunities for leadership development, just in general. And I actually had been turned away from the leadership program that Marla brought up. It was very competitive, and ultimately, I was not selected. And when the HSI Fellows Program came about, I really felt like it met my objective to receive more leadership training, but also ultimately my goals have been to grow as a leader so that I could find ways to better support students and really lift them up so they can thrive and meet their fullest potential while they're here, and ultimately get those careers that they're striving for and that they invest in us to be able to get to. So the HSI Fellows was meeting that for me, and it delivered those leadership opportunities and so much more. And I'll pass it off to Eileen.
Thanks, Ashley. This is Eileen. I should say that this opportunity came at a time in my career where I felt I had witnessed students who struggled through our programs and who had such challenging life experiences and were often seen through a deficit mindset. And these students were undervalued for their potential and their unique contributions. And I was tired of this, and I was tired because I knew that their wisdom was so desperately needed in the academy and in my field to better serve our patients. And I knew that I had to do more and that we had to do better as an institution in serving these students. So I wanted to develop leadership skills and to expand my impact. And I had actually applied, like Ashley, to a leadership program through my professional organization, and they had said that they didn't have a mentor who matched my needs. And that was a real letdown and sort of furthered a feeling of disconnection and being an outsider. So when the HSI Fellows Program was advertised, it seemed like the perfect match. It was a leadership development program that was cohort-based. It gave paid time to do service activities and engaged us in meaningful projects. The method, the structure, and the mission really suited me well. And I also should add that my decision to participate in this program was a significant moment in my life, as it came while my daughter was very young, and at a time when I was acutely aware that every extra commitment would ultimately take away time from her. And I remember being at our very first HSI Fellows meeting in a room full of strangers who I felt I could be unusually honest with. And I shared with them that after having a child, I felt I could more clearly identify the things I really cared about and how I wanted to spend my time, and that this was something that I knew would be worth the sacrifice of one of my most valuable resources, time. So this work was really more than a professional commitment. It was living my personal and family values related to social justice, and I felt I needed to leverage this experience to ensure that my students would have access to resources that they needed to have a voice.
Thank you. I think, so as we think about the bonus outcomes, and Eileen and I have touched on this a little bit, in that the HSI Fellows program from day one was fostered such a sense of community and belongingness, and that's by design. Marla designed a program that was warm and started us out from the very beginning to create a family feel, a sense of community, but also one that was filled with mutual respect and these professional connections that we started building. So we started out in this very authentic way, and within the first night, I realized that this was fulfilling a need that I didn't know that I had. I think having the connection, and that not only were we there for leadership development and to find ways to serve our students, but we were also there with the mindset of learning more about serving Hispanic and Latinx students. And in my cohort in particular, we did have a lot of Hispanic and Latinx individuals, cohort members, I think somewhat by chance of applicants that year. But there was this kind of cultural bond that I just couldn't have ever imagined. I've never been in a professional environment, certainly not at the university, where I've felt so culturally and personally connected with folks beyond work. And it just filled my cup up.
Yeah, reflecting on the experience for me and sort of like the unanticipated or bonus outcomes, this program really fostered a deeper sense of belonging for me into the fabric of the university. And it really connected with me with people all across campus. I should say though that before participating in this program, I really had met great supportive colleagues within my department, and I felt like I belonged. I didn't feel like I was missing anything. However, meeting other faculty members of color and allies in this work really deepened my sense of belonging and helped me to feel a kinship that I didn't even know I was missing, similar to what Ashley said. And it was also the first time I felt I saw a leader in my professional career who could be my role model, someone who shared both similar values and implementation, someone whose actions emphasized kindness and authenticity, respect, and social justice. And this person, of course, is Dr. Franco. And I've seen, aspects of, these traits in different bosses or supervisors or leaders over the years, but never someone who embodied all of these qualities in a way that resonated with me so well. And it helped me really to see a path forward for myself as a leader and to know that it was okay for leadership to look different.
And I just want to add to that, for leadership to look different and to make a comfortable space, like a good leader and a good a solid environment and a solid leader does not mean that people need to feel stiff and uncomfortable. It was a way to see how we could do all the things that we set out to achieve and more, and do it in a way that's just very nurturing and really adding and not kind of taking away some of our mental and emotional capacity, in a way that was equally enriching and fulfilling. And I think that's something that is not as easy to come by. You know, a lot of times very structured programs and environments and some of those highest leadership roles, it's hard to find that warmth, and that was not the case.
You all are too kind and generous, but thank you so much for sharing with our audience members a little bit about your own experience. So I want to tell you a little bit about the participants of the HSI Fellows Program. We recently launched our third cohort just a few weeks ago. Each cohort consists of a combined total of 10 faculty and staff. There is an open application process during the winter, and we always receive far more applicants than we can accommodate. The program is capped at 10 to provide a high quality and high touch cohort experience. Applicants also include the endorsement of their direct supervisor and requires a commitment from their home departments to support involvement of the fellows. One of the signature equity by design features of this program is that the university recognizes that diversity, inclusion, and equity work is real institutional work that is of high value and interest to the university, and therefore should be financially compensated accordingly. Far too often, faculty and staff of color disproportionately shoulder this type of work and receive no additional compensation for it. With this in mind, each fellows department either receives funds to offset the cost of one course release per semester, or provides them with a comparable amount to support additional HSI specific professional development and/or research. One of the organic elements that adds to the richness of this program is a wide array of positions and academic fields and departments that are represented by the fellows. For example, our second cohort included a director of one of our cultural resource centers, a senior lecturer within the College of Nursing, a senior research scientist within student success and retention innovation, and a director of academic advising within the College of Humanities. Participants themselves come from all educational backgrounds and represent a broad range of diversity, including but not limited to diversity in racial and ethnic background, immigrant background, age, number of years within the field, and so much more. Fellows are eager and committed to advancing equity in new and collective ways. They long to be invested in by the university and supported in this work. And so many of them are on the cusp of unlocking new levels of leadership and potential, personally and professionally. Now, let me share a little bit with you about who is intentionally involved in facilitating this program. Although I might be the orchestrator of this experience, I personally recognize my role as both developer and learner in the process. I diligently and deliberately bring in others to help guide this learning and leadership development experience. For example, I've brought in key university administrators such as the provost, the vice provost for faculty affairs, and one of our college's associate deans for community engagement. Guests like these expand the fellows network and awareness of senior level administrators at the University of Arizona. I also leverage those who are leading research on HSI, such as Dr. Gina Garcia, who has connected via Zoom with each of our cohorts. I also value student voices, particularly those who have advocated for greater equity and more culturally inclusive practices on our campus. They too have served as panelists to share their stories. I also want to show our fellows how our surrounding community should be revered and honored as knowledge holders who have great wisdom and guidance to share with us. Respect and value for community partnerships has resulted in guests joining us such as Jansen Azarias, CEO and founder of Higher Ground, which is a local community resource that promotes and supports social and emotional well-being for youth and their families, as well as a very special elder within the state of Arizona, Kathy Murphy, who served as the official photographer for the United Farm Workers at the request of Cesar Chavez. Kathy had the unique opportunity to document the entire 1,000-mile march. During her visit with us, she shared vivid stories and illustrations about her interactions with Cesar Chavez, and she brought in her own personal collection of photos. These are just a few examples of who helps create this special experience for our fellows. So what is this experience exactly? Well, in a nutshell, it's 10 fellows and 10 sessions, but it really is so much more than that. The program kicks off in a very special and intimate way to help facilitate an immediate sense of belonging and connection among the fellows. I host a kickoff dinner in my home. Nothing says you matter, you belong, I value you, than to welcome them into your home and share a meal. This is the first opportunity that fellows have to get to know one another. Thereafter, we have 8 scheduled sessions on Fridays that take place every few weeks throughout the academic year. Coupled with these sessions are multi-directional mentoring and support, shared learning, networking opportunities, and the development of a strong cohort, along with project-based opportunities where the group of 10 fellows reconfigures itself into 3 smaller teams to tackle a real institutional gap or need that, if addressed, could actually help strengthen our ability to be centered on servingness as a Hispanic serving institution. These projects are not case studies, nor anecdotal scenarios. They are real gaps and needs at our institution, and through these projects, our HSI fellows lead the way in creating institutional blueprints for change that give way possibly to more equitable and affirming learning environments for our students. I'm now going to turn it over to Eileen to share more about her experience.
When thinking through the impacts of the HSI Fellows Program and the ripple effects, there are a couple of factors that have really facilitated capacity building. First, this experience enhanced my leadership skills, which changed not only how I see myself as a leader, but how others see me. And this experience also taught me a lot about process, or the how-to of capacity building and what the work of servingness actually looks like. As an example, a little over a year ago, I had a group of undergraduate students approach me about starting a student club in our department that would support students of color. And they asked me if I would be their club advisor, and of course I said yes. You may not know, but the mismatch in demographics between speech-language pathologists and audiologists and the communities that we serve is significant. The American Speech-Language Hearing Association demographic data for 2019 shows that only 8.3% of the total membership and affiliates identified as being from an underrepresented racial or ethnic background. And this is, of course, in stark contrast with our national demographic data, which is significantly more diverse and growing in its diversity. Of course, we all know that starting something new takes a significant amount of effort, and I wanted to ensure that I would be able to give these students the scaffolding that they deserved in pursuing this endeavor. So over the summer, the more I thought about this opportunity and saw connection to the Fellows Program, I thought to myself, what if I modeled an independent study experience after the Fellows Program? Maybe I could use this same framework to help the students work toward their goal of creating a new student group. Also, I felt that giving course credit would be a way for me to formally acknowledge the work they were doing and increase visibility of the work, very similar to how our experience in the HSI Fellows Program was supported with pay for our work. So like Marla said, I feel like too often service activities aren't awarded the same value in the institution as, say, publications or research grants. And until we document and reward and value this effort, it's always going to be seen as extra. And that leaves these activities vulnerable, and they're far too important to be vulnerable. So the students were enthusiastic about this idea, and we co-designed the curriculum and course to fit their learning needs and to provide them with experiences that would build their skills while furthering their initiatives. And on this next slide, I'm going to show you that, like I said, this experience was mirrored after the HSI Fellows Leadership Program in that it was cohort-based, it facilitated networking and applied leadership training. This experience now has a name. It's called Lead Now, which stands for Leadership, Equity, and Diversity No Other Way. And this fall, we have our second cohort participating. And it's been so exciting to see how this experience is fulfilling the original goals that really fueled the HSI Fellows Program. Through this program, we are building institutional capacity with different efforts that the students are involved in, and we're creating a framework for sustained training of diversity-centered leaders in our department. This experience has also cultivated belonging and facilitated connections as it provides students with a space where they know their experiences and ideas are going to be valued. And finally, this experience has provided us with another way to invest in our students, supporting and elevating them as leaders in our department and our profession. Now, Ashley is going to share some of the impacts that have come from her experience with the Fellows Program.
So similar to Eileen, I come from a health profession as a registered dietitian nutritionist that is also significantly lacking diversity in the profession. And really the result of that is that we do not have a workforce of dietetics professionals who reflect the communities we serve. And that wide gap really shapes a lot of my work and in all of the things that I do. So really in the program, I had a variety of opportunities that presented themselves and that Marla tapped me in on or that came up. And through the cohort-based programming and the leadership workshops, and then some of these opportunities that I had, such as the project that I worked on as part of my cohort group project, designing the framework for this, a network of professionals and programs on campus who are, fulfilling this, serving Hispanic and Latinx students and kind of fulfilling this idea of servingness very much and demonstrating it in their work. That was one project. I have become a manuscript reviewer, and I have been a facilitator at these town halls and summits that I've mentioned, that I've listed here. And so through these different activities and others, I started getting more ideas, building my network with folks who I never really would have been crossing paths with. And I got mentoring. And so as a result, I've really been able to leverage this experience to be more intentional in some of the work that I had ongoing, but I kind of lacked the network and some of the skills and confidence to execute on some of the ideas. And so something that I'm very interested in and that I've been very involved in is the design and development of new undergraduate programs. So between our dietetics training programs and opportunities, undergraduate majors and minors, that's something that I've really had a lot of opportunity with. And I know that if left to chance, our programs are not always going to do the best at serving and developing that culture and that sense of belongingness among our students. It's not something that just happens when you're delivering a program to perhaps hundreds or thousands of people in our institutions, that, you know, operate more like predominantly white institutions. And ours is shifting, but still it takes intention and design. And so through this experience, I think I've really been able to look at a set of programs that I've been involved in the development of in Yuma, Arizona, with colleagues there. And we've really been putting the pieces in place to develop a pipeline for future dietitians. So those partnerships with the community colleges, developing and having our program, our undergraduate program, accredited to be delivered out of that distance campus, and then figuring out what that graduate training will look like, so that those students from that rural community, which has a very large Hispanic and Latino population, how do we get more students through the pipeline so that they don't necessarily have to leave that rural community and have that be a barrier to them moving forward into the profession in a community that needs professionals like them to get through and to serve to serve the community at large. And so as I've finished the program, I've been able to approach that work that I've been doing with a lot more intentionality and start looking at how would we scale and sustain a mentoring program here for all of our students? How would we structure in a leadership program for these undergraduates? Again, from my perspective, thinking about sustainability, longevity, how do we, in the design of everything, the staffing, the offerings of when the course is available and how activities are mapped in, how do we essentially deliver this program that by design is going to serve and retain these students and help them thrive? And I think that is that context that the HSI Fellows Program has provided me with, and the foundation through the mentoring and the network that I've created. I've been able to be more intentional, and that's kind of where I'm headed right now.
So thank you so much for joining us, and for certainly Eileen and Ashley, thank you so much for joining this session and co-facilitating and sharing a little bit about your experience. We appreciate you joining us. We look forward to taking your questions and engaging in conversation with you during the remaining time of this session. Should you have an interest in learning more, we certainly welcome you to reach out via email at marlafranco@email.arizona.edu, and also encourage you to take a look at our website at hsi.arizona.edu, as well as our social media at Arizona HSI on Facebook and Twitter, and at uarizona.hsi on Instagram. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.